Hi, you're on the Red Flag channel. You ever think you've got it all figured out, like the picture perfect life straight out of a real estate brochure? That was me not too long ago. I'm David, 37, IT systems admin at a mid-sized firm. Nothing glamorous, but it pays steady, keeps a roof over our heads, and I was proud of that. Jessica, my wife. She's 35, marketing executive, sharp dresser, the type who can sell snow to Alaskans with just a smile. We'd been married 12 years. 12. Long enough to know each other's quirks. Long enough to believe the foundation was solid. Add in our kids. Emma, 15 going on 25. Always rolling her eyes but secretly ambitious like her mom. And Tyler, 12. Video game junkie with the driest sense of humor I've ever seen. And you'd think we were living the American dream. Millfield Heights. That's where we planted ourselves. White fences, tidy lawns, block parties in summer, the smell of barbecue drifting down the street, everyone waving at each other like they were extras in a Hallmark movie. You'd never guess how many secrets sit behind those perfectly painted front doors. Now, here's where I should have connected the dots. Jessica started working late more often. Then came girls' nights that seemed to multiply by the week. She hit the gym religiously, bought new outfits I never saw her wear at home, and started answering phone calls in another room like she was plotting national security. Classic red flags, right? But I brushed it off. I trusted her. Or maybe I was just too comfortable in our routine to face what was right in front of me. The real crack in the glass came one Tuesday evening. I was in the kitchen cooking spaghetti and meatballs, my signature dish. Jessica walks in, and behind her is Mark. Mark wasn't just anybody. He was married to Jessica's sister. Brother-in-law, technically, but he might as well have been the golden boy of the family. 6'2", athletic, drives a shiny BMW, real estate hotshot. At least that's how he pitched himself. The guy had that slick confidence of someone who never worried about paying bills on time. "David," he says, barely glancing my way as he grabs a beer from my fridge like he owned the place. "Jess and I have something important to talk to you about." Right away, my gut twisted. He had that tone, that salesman tone. Jessica wouldn't meet my eyes. "Mark's got an opportunity. A business investment. He thinks we should get in on it." Mark pulls out his phone and starts flashing photos of some rundown building downtown. "This baby's gonna triple in value within 2 years. City's planning a major development project right next door. I've got inside info. How much are we talking?" I asked, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. 200 grand, Jessica said softly. "We'd need to take a second mortgage on the house." I nearly dropped the spoon in my hand. "Are you out of your mind? Emma's got college in 3 years. We just finished paying off your student loans. You want to bet our house on Mark's hunch?" Mark laughed, that smug laugh that crawled under my skin. "David, this isn't speculation. This is a sure thing. Sometimes you gotta take risks to build real wealth. You can't spend your whole life playing it safe." I turned off the burner, stared him dead in the eye. Playing it safe is how we own this house. Playing it safe is how we have college savings. Playing it safe is why we sleep at night without worrying about losing everything. Mark smirked and shot a glance at Jessica. "That's the problem, man. You think small. Jessica deserves more. Bigger life. Better future. That one word, little, set me off. My little IT job, my little suburban life. That little was what kept my family secure." Jessica finally chimed in, voice tight. "David, I already told Mark we're in. Claire's investing too. It's a family decision." I froze. Family decision? Since when do you and Mark make the family decisions without me? Last time I checked, I was your husband, not him. Her cheeks flushed. "Don't be dramatic." "Mark knows what he's doing," I shot back. "Yeah? Like that strip mall investment he tanked 2 years ago?" Mark's fake grin cracked just for a second. "That was different. Market conditions. There's no such thing as a sure thing in real estate," I snapped, "and we're not risking our kids' security on your guesswork." That's when Mark leaned in, cologne and all. "Your kids, David? They're Jessica's kids too. and she wants them to have opportunities you'll never be able to provide. That one hit me like a gut punch. I looked at Jessica, waiting for her to defend me, to tell him he was crossing a line. Instead, she just stared at the floor. Something broke in me right then. I didn't say much more, just told him to leave. But when the door slammed, I knew one thing. This wasn't the last time Mark would walk into my house, or my marriage. And damn, was I right. After that night, the air in our house was different. Jessica barely spoke to me for days, except for clipped sentences about the kids or bills. She spent more time on her phone, texting in whispers, her face lighting up at messages I wasn't allowed to see. And Mark, he started popping up more often, like a bad penny you couldn't get rid of. Sometimes he'd show up with Claire, sometimes alone, always with new opportunities, always with that smug tone that made me want to punch a wall. And the worst part? Jessica started siding with him more and more, questioning my decisions, comparing our lifestyle to theirs. The poison wasn't just at home, it started leaking into our circle of friends too. For years we'd had a tight crew. Tom and Sarah Mitchell, Jake and Amanda Rodriguez, plus us. Weekly game nights, backyard barbecues, trips to the lake. We were the type of friends who thought we'd grow old together, telling stories about back in the day while sipping beers on someone's porch. But then came that dinner at Tom and Sarah's. It was supposed to be normal, potluck style, too much wine, Settlers of Catan after dessert. I was out on the deck helping Tom flip burgers when I glanced through the sliding door. Inside, there was Jessica, nodding along as Mark held court. Sarah and Amanda leaned in, faces serious, hanging on his every word. "What's that about?" Tom asked, noticing my frown. "Probably another one of Mark's get-rich pitches," I muttered, trying to play it cool. "He's been trying to rope us into some downtown property deal." Tom raised an eyebrow. "The old Brennan building?" "Heard about that. City's got some kind of development plan nearby. Could be legit, maybe, but not with my house as collateral." Tom nodded. Smart. Safer that way. But when we went inside for dinner, the vibe had shifted. Sarah kept sneaking looks at me like I was hiding something. Amanda wouldn't meet my eyes. And Jessica? She was glued to Mark, laughing too hard at his jokes, like a teenager with a crush. Later, during the board game, Mark dropped his bombshell. "You know, David," he said, arranging his little wooden settlements with that fake casualness of his. "I did some digging on your company. Midwest Mutual, right?" My stomach dropped. "What about it?" He smirked. "They've been bleeding market share for 3 straight quarters. And rumor has it they're merging with Continental Group. When that happens, guess which department gets gutted first?" I.T. The room went dead quiet. Jessica's eyes widened. Tom cleared his throat. Even Amanda, who usually avoided drama, looked uncomfortable. "That's nonsense," I said. "Where'd you hear that?" "I've got contacts," Mark replied smoothly. "Word is Continental's gonna centralize IT in Chicago. Means guys like you? Redundant." The word hit like a slap. Redundant. Like I was just a replaceable cog. Jessica's voice was shaky. "David, is this true?" "I don't know anything about a merger," I snapped. "And even if there is one, I manage network security for 400 employees. I'm not some guy rebooting Wi-Fi routers in the basement." Mark leaned back, smirking. "Sure, but let's be real. There are 1,000 IT guys in this city who could do what you do. You're not exactly irreplaceable." Amanda finally spoke up. "Marcus, that's kind of harsh." "No, I'm being honest," Mark said, cutting her off. "David's been coasting. Technology's moving fast. Companies want young, hungry talent, not mid-career support staff with outdated skills." That broke me. I wanted to flip the table, scream in his face. Instead, I pushed my chair back and stood up. "You know what? I'm done, David," Jessica started, but I was already walking out. "I'll be in the car." The drive home was silent, except for Jessica's nails tapping furiously on her phone screen. When we pulled into the driveway, she finally spoke. You embarrassed me tonight. I turned to her, stunned. I embarrassed you. Your brother-in-law just told our friends I'm incompetent and worthless, and I'm the problem? He was trying to help, she shot back. He was making you see that maybe we need to think bigger. Maybe we need to take some risks while we still can. No, I said, voice low. He was humiliating me. And you let him. Jessica's eyes blazed. What was I supposed to do, David? Pretend he's wrong? Pretend everything's perfect when you've been stuck in the same dead-end job for years? Mark's successful. Maybe instead of resenting him, you should listen to what he's saying. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, my chest burning. For the first time, I asked myself, was he right? Was I just some disposable IT guy? I didn't have the answer. But I knew one thing. If Mark was trying to push me out of my own marriage and my own life, I wasn't going down without a fight. The weeks that followed were pure hell. Jessica grew colder, Mark grew bolder, and our friends, the people I thought would always have my back, started pulling away like rats from a sinking ship. It started small. Invitations that came later than usual. Text conversations that fizzled out. A weird tension in the air every time we got together, like people were walking on eggshells around me. Then Tom and Sarah canceled our next dinner, citing family obligations. Jake and Amanda stopped calling. When I did see them, they were polite but distant, as if some invisible line had been drawn and I was on the wrong side. I should have confronted it sooner. Instead, I let it fester. The real breaking point came with Jake's barbecue. I was at home, helping Tyler with his math homework, when my phone buzzed. Jake's name lit up the screen. "Hey man, can you talk?" His voice was unusually serious. "Sure, what's up?" He sighed. "Look, Amanda and I are hosting a barbecue Saturday. Tom and Sarah will be there, plus some neighbors, but Marcus is coming too." My stomach turned. So? So Amanda thought it might be better if you sat this one out. You know, to avoid drama, I laughed bitterly. Let me get this straight. You're inviting him, the guy who trashed me in front of everyone, who's been pushing my wife into insane schemes, but I'm the one uninvited? It's not about sides, Jake said quickly. It's about keeping the peace. Keeping the peace? I snapped. By cutting me out of my own circle of friends? Look, David, he's family to Jessica. Maybe you just need to find a way to get along with him. I hung up before I said something I couldn't take back. When I told Jessica, she didn't even flinch. In fact, she looked relieved. Maybe it's for the best, she said. You and Marcus can't be in the same room without fighting. At least this way I can enjoy myself without worrying about a scene. You're still going? I asked, stunned. Of course. Claire will be there. Just because you and Marcus can't get along doesn't mean I should miss out on seeing my sister. That cut deeper than anything Mark had ever said. My wife was willing to attend a party where I wasn't welcome. A party I'd been excluded from because of him. That night, lying in bed while she scrolled happily through outfit ideas for Saturday, I realized the truth. I was losing everything. My marriage, my friends, my reputation. And the worst part? Jessica didn't seem to care. Saturday arrived gray and drizzly, like the universe was mocking me. Jessica spent the morning trying on dresses, asking Emma for fashion advice, fussing with her hair like she was going to the Oscars. Meanwhile, I ordered pizza with Tyler and tried to distract myself with Fortnite, but the knot in my stomach grew tighter with every hour. Then, around 7 p.m., my phone buzzed. First a text from Tom. Dude, you need to get over here now. Then Sarah. David, please. Something's happening with Jessica. Finally, Jake. Emergency. Bring your keys. Don't ask. Just come. My blood ran cold. I dropped the controller, told Tyler the neighbor would watch him, and drove like a madman to Jake's house. The street was lined with cars, music still blaring in the backyard, but the vibe was all wrong. Through the gate, I saw Jessica sitting in a lawn chair, mascara streaked down her cheeks, Amanda holding her like she'd just gotten the worst news of her life. Claire was kneeling beside her. And Mark? Nowhere in sight. Tom rushed up, face grim. Marcus had too much to drink, he said quietly. Started running his mouth. About you. About your marriage. About Jessica. Deserving better? I clenched my fists. Where is he? Inside. Jake and Steve are keeping him there, but David... No, I cut him off. My voice was steady, ice cold. He's been poisoning my life for weeks. Tonight, it ends. We walked into the living room. Mark was slumped on the couch, beer in hand, eyes glassy but still full of that same smug arrogance. Well, well, he sneered. The man of the hour. Come to collect your wife? I stood in the doorway, staring him down. No, I came to hear what you have to say to my face. He laughed, bitter and ugly. I've been saying it for weeks, David. You're small. You're replaceable. You're a roadblock in Jessica's life. She deserves better, and I can give it to her. The room went dead silent, and in that moment, everything clicked. This wasn't about money, wasn't about real estate. This was about him wanting her. I took a step closer, my voice low and sharp. Stay away from my wife. Stay away from my family, or I'll burn your whole world down. For the first time, I saw fear flash across his face, and I knew the war had officially begun. That night after the barbecue, while Jessica cried herself to sleep, I sat in my office staring at the glow of my monitor. I was done playing defense. Mark had been undermining me, poisoning my wife, isolating me from my friends. If I didn't act now, I'd lose everything. So I did the one thing I knew how to do better than him: research. I started with public records. Property deeds, business filings, court documents, stuff most people never bother to check. It didn't take long to find cracks in his successful realtor facade. His house? Worth about $750,000 but carrying a fat mortgage, over 70% of its value. His flashy BMW. Leased, not owned. His real estate business? A string of failures. A strip mall deal that tanked. A residential project that went bankrupt. A commercial renovation tied up in lawsuits. The deeper I dug, the uglier it got. Mark was drowning in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, but projecting success with smoke and mirrors. Those steakhouse dinners on Instagram, mostly chain restaurants dressed up with filters, luxury vacations, budget hotels cropped to look glamorous. He wasn't rich. He was desperate, and desperate men are dangerous. But I wasn't finished. I wanted personal leverage. So I checked Claire's social media. Unlike Mark, she wasn't trying to show off. Her posts told a different story. Inspirational quotes about independence, selfies from night classes, cryptic captions about finding yourself. Even more telling? A guy kept popping up in her likes and comments. Robert Chen, a physical therapist. Their interactions had a spark. Nothing explicit, but enough to suggest Claire was pulling away from her husband. Bingo. Mark wasn't just a fraud in business. His marriage was cracking too. I leaned back in my chair, heart racing. I had everything I needed. The only question was how to use it. Destroying him outright was tempting, but too messy. Instead, I'd let him dig his own grave. The plan came together piece by piece. Jessica would convince him I was finally ready to invest. He'd think he'd won. Then I'd walk into that meeting with all the receipts, financial records, screenshots, social media trails, and drop them like bombs. I didn't just want to say no. I wanted to rip the mask off his face in broad daylight. When I told Jessica, she hesitated. "You're really going to blackmail him?" I shook my head. Not blackmail, just full disclosure. He wants to gamble with our lives? Fine. Let's see how he handles the truth. So she made the call. Played her part perfectly, like an actress winning an Oscar. She told him she'd convinced me, that I was ready to talk business if he could bring hard numbers. Mark swallowed the bait whole. "I'll bring everything," he promised, practically buzzing through the phone. "David won't regret this." Oh, I was counting on it. Saturday morning hit crisp and sharp, one of those days where the air feels like it's buzzing. Perfect weather to burn a man's lies to the ground. I dressed like I meant business. Khakis, button-down, a blazer Jessica said made me look like a guy banks actually listen to. Nothing flashy, just solid. The opposite of Mark. The coffee shop he picked was a hipster joint downtown, all reclaimed wood, exposed brick, and overpriced lattes. Mark's natural habitat. When I walked in, he was already there. Corner table, laptop open, folders stacked like war plans, expensive suit pressed, gold watch flashing every time he moved. He looked like a man about to close the deal of his life. He stood when he saw me. "David, glad Jessica finally talked sense into you. This is going to be huge for your family." I shook his hand, sat across, and slid my own folder onto the table. He didn't notice. "Before we jump in," I said, calm as stone, "I've got a couple questions." His salesman's smile didn't budge. "Of course." "Ask away," I leaned forward. "Let's start with Riverside. The strip mall project. How much did you lose on that?" For the first time, his mask twitched. Just a flicker. "Every investor has projects that—" "Zoning restrictions you didn't research," I cut in. "Anchor tenant you promised that never signed. That kind of oversight doesn't look like bad luck. Looks like lying." His hands stilled on his laptop. "That was unusual circumstances." "Unusual, huh? Like your Creekside development? Financing that didn't exist? Inflated sales projections?" I flipped a page from my folder, laid it flat between us. His own filings, black and white proof. The sweat started beading. He reached for his coffee and nearly spilled it. I didn't let up. "Your LLC's been running at a loss 3 out of the last 4 years. Your BMW, leased, your mortgage, 70% of your house value. You're not rich, Mark. You're broke." His jaw worked, but no words came out. Then I hit him with the kill shot. I slid out the last page, a printout of Claire's flirty comment threads with Robert Chen, liked posts, emojis, long chains of banter. Mark went pale. "You want to talk about who deserves better?" I said quietly. "Maybe Claire's already figuring that out. Maybe with someone who doesn't gamble away his friends' homes." He whispered, "You're blackmailing me." "No," I said, leaning in until our eyes locked. "I'm giving you the truth. What you do with it, that's your problem. But if you ever come near my family again, I'll make sure everyone knows what I know. And you won't just lose investments. You'll lose every last shred of credibility you've got." Silence stretched between us. The noise of the cafe, steam wands hissing, indie music humming, felt like a soundtrack to his collapse. Finally, he sagged back in his chair. "What do you want?" "Simple," I said. "Stay away from my family. Stop poisoning my wife. Stop trying to turn my friends against me. You don't exist in my world anymore. Clear enough?" He nodded, broken. I stood, slid my folder back into my bag, and left him there, his fancy suit sagging, his lies bleeding out on the table like an autopsy report. Walking out into the sunlight, I felt lighter than I had in months. For the first time, I wasn't just defending my family, I was protecting it. By Sunday night, the storm had already started. Jessica's phone lit up during dinner. "Claire." She answered, and even from across the table I could hear her sister's voice breaking through in raw sobs. The words came jagged. "Liar. Divorce. Can't believe. How could he?" Jessica shot me a look. I nodded, let her roll with it. From what Claire spilled, Mark had finally cracked. He confessed everything. The failed investments, the debts, the fake success stories, the manipulation he'd aimed at Jessica and me. And when she pressed harder, he admitted he'd snooped through her phone, paranoid she might be cheating. That little stunt detonated what was left of their marriage. "He actually told me he thought he could win me back by proving David was unworthy," Claire spat through the phone. "Like tearing you down would somehow fix us. I'm done. I want out." Jessica hung up after promising Claire our full support. Then she just sat there, staring at me. "You really did it. You broke him." I didn't answer. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt like I'd just detonated a bomb and was watching the wreckage scatter. Over the next few weeks, the fallout spread like wildfire. Claire froze their accounts, filed for divorce, and moved back in with her parents while she got her nursing program back on track. Mark, stripped of his facade, had to move into a dingy studio on the other side of town. The BMW disappeared, repoed. He was driving some beat-up Civic with a busted mirror. The neighborhood buzzed with gossip. Everyone who once fawned over Mark's success suddenly realized they'd been buying into smoke and mirrors. Our friends, Tom, Sarah, Jake, Amanda, crept back into our lives. They came with awkward apologies, cheap wine, and the kind of sheepish looks you give when you realize you backed the wrong horse. "I can't believe we fell for his act," Sarah said one night. "He seemed so put together, so confident." "Confidence is the easiest thing in the world to fake when you're desperate enough," I told her. And they all nodded, pretending they'd known it all along. For me and Jessica, the disaster worked like a reset button. She finally saw how easily manipulation can slip through the cracks of a marriage built on silence. We started weekly money meetings at the kitchen table. Budget, savings, future plans. No more secrets, no more blind trust in smooth-talking salesmen. Jessica asked questions now, hard ones, the kind I used to avoid because they felt accusatory. But this time it wasn't mistrust. It was partnership. One night over spreadsheets and half-empty wine glasses, she said, "I let him get in my head because I felt insecure. That's on me." Never again. I reached across the table, squeezed her hand. We both let him in. Now we shut the door. For good. 6 months later, I ran into Mark at the grocery store. Funny how poetic life can be. He wasn't the swaggering real estate hotshot anymore. No tailored suits, no flashy watch. Just a polo shirt that had seen better days and khakis baggy in all the wrong places. He was pushing a cart in the frozen food aisle, clipping coupons like a guy who finally realized grocery bills matter. I almost didn't recognize him until he turned and caught my eye. For a long moment, we just stared across the freezer section. "David," he said, voice low. "Mark," I replied. He gave a tired laugh, one without venom. "I guess you've heard about the divorce." "I heard." Silence stretched, broken only by the hum of the freezers. He finally looked at me and said something I never expected. "You showed Claire who I really was. You didn't lie, didn't exaggerate, you just laid it out. And the truth wrecked me." He gave a weak smile. I deserved it. For once, I didn't feel rage or triumph, just pity. He wasn't my enemy anymore. He was a man gutted by his own lies. Life moved forward. Claire eventually remarried, a physical therapist who treated her like a queen without needing to fake success. Jessica stood as maid of honor, and I walked Claire down the aisle. A full circle moment if there ever was one. At work, the rumors of mergers fizzled. Not only did I keep my job, I got promoted. IT director. Bigger office, bigger paycheck, bigger respect. The same job Marcus mocked as support staff turned out to be the thing that secured my family's future. Jessica and I, stronger than ever. We learned to fight smarter, to communicate openly, to shut the door on outsiders who wanted to wedge themselves into our marriage. When I think back now, I realize the real villain wasn't Marcus. It was silence. The silence is where Jessica and I stopped talking, where I ignored red flags, where we both let someone else's voice get louder than our own. And the truth, it can cut deep, but it also sets you free. If you've read this far, here's what I'll say. Don't ignore the signs. Don't let outsiders steer your marriage, your family, your life. Speak up. Dig deeper. Protect what matters, even if it means burning a few bridges. Because at the end of the day, family isn't about grand gestures or risky investments. It's about trust, and trust is built or broken, one decision at a time. Look at the people around you. Ask yourself who's really got your back, and don't be afraid to draw a line when someone doesn't. Your family deserves nothing less.